Hit yet another record high as bulls maintain the momentum on the Lal Street. The mid-cap index also scales a new peak for the 11th day running. The market cap of shares listed on the BSE crosses 400 lakh crore rupees for the first time.
Rate sensitives lead the charge on the Lal Street with auto real estate stocks gaining the most. The Nifty Bank also hits a record high intraday before cooling off.
Shares of Voltas rally and trade after reporting highest ever sale of air conditioners in Q4. On the other hand, shares of Bandhan Bank tumble after its founder CEO, Mr. Ghosh, decides to step down in July. Hello and welcome to Markets Forward, your go-to show where we get you all the highlights of today's trading action and we set you up for tomorrow's trade as well. I'm Nigel D'Souza, joining me as always, Reema Tendulkar. Hey Reema.
Hi Nigel, we've got our viewers covered. We're with you for the next 20 minutes with all the big news, key developments on the Lal Street, top corporate voices and the events to track ahead. But first, the day's market action. A day of records, but led by the large caps.
Well, that's right, Reema. You just look at the screen, you'll see the Nifty made a fresh all-time high, so that was good news. And the Nifty Bank played a bit of catch-up. So in this fiscal year so far, you have the Nifty Bank actually that made a fresh all-time high, but it was a relative underperformer in trade. And that's the way, in fact, indices perform. Nifty, top of the pops, Nifty Bank, a bit of an underperformer. And the mid-cap index actually was a big underperformer in today's trading session. Remember, it's had a big run, but for today, it was an underperformer. If you look at the number of stocks that are advancing in comparison to the number of stocks that are declining, there were way more number of stocks that were advancing when we kick-started trade. But by the time we wound up, it was pretty much even Stevens with the scale tilted towards the decline. So that's one point to notice. And if you're looking at updates that are coming in there, good updates being rewarded. The street is giving it a double thumbs up. Case in point being a Voltas. The stock is up more than 50% in the last 8 to around 9 months odd. Today as well, it made a fresh all-time high. It ended with a gain of close to around 6%. However, a rank outperformer has been REC. The stock is up, I think, 3 times in the last 15 months. But the update that came in, the street didn't like it too much. So that ended with some cuts. So the street is being severe on both sides. You get a double thumbs up if you do well. And if you miss estimates, then it's a double thumbs down. That's the way trade played out. But Reema, what else?
Well, it was just about the large caps, right? As you pointed out, the mid-cap index ended absolutely flat. The Nifty today went on and hit a new record high. And now the new level to track is very close to that 22,700. 22,697 is the new record high on the Nifty. And we ended about 30 points off that level, but still 150-point gain on the Nifty today. The sensex has surged close to about 500 points. And autos led the way. Sectorally, autos was the top performing sector. Eicher Motors, Maruti, M&M. These were the top 3 Nifty gainers with a rally of close to about 3 to 4%. Real estate was the next best performing sector, and we'll talk more about it. On the way down, PSU banks, the Nifty PSU banking index ended with a cut of nearly 0.9%, and IT too was on the back foot. The Nifty IT index ending with a cut of close to about 0.5%. We'll discuss these themes in greater detail. Here's what we've lined up for you. We start with the top movers and shakers of the day. Vivek is with us. Bandhan Bank was in focus after the CEO, Mr. Ghosh, announced he will step down from his role. The other stocks in focus include Voltas and Exide. So stay tuned while we tell you what led to these stocks rallying in trade. Real estate was the sector of the day after a bunch of stocks like Indiabulls Real Estate, Godrej Properties were buzzing. Many Q4 updates came through, and D Street chatter also on the show, where Nimesh will tell us why Adani Ports was buzzing in today's trading session. And last but not the least, we delve into the key market events to watch out for. But let's get the show going with Vivek. He's at the big wall with the top stock movers of the day. Vivek.
Well, thank you so much for that. Like you can imagine, on a day where record highs have been hit, most of the stocks, most of the sectors actually did quite well and in the green. The first sector, of course, that we look at, like you mentioned, was the auto pack. Interest rate sensitives, some good commentary coming in from the auto industry body. All of that aided in the up move that we saw today. Eicher Motors, Maruti, M&M, all of these names amongst the top gainers. The second set of stocks, again, that one that you mentioned is the realty pack. What happened over here is that all of the companies that have come out with the quarterly updates have come out with very robust quarterly updates, and the pre-sales figures has been quite strong. The back of that, the entire pack today doing very well. Now coming to individual stocks, one stock that stood out was Exide. Some positive news flow coming in. Hyundai Motor as well as Kia Corp signed an accord with the company as far as the EV arm is concerned. And on the back of that, the stock gained over 17%. The other stock on the radar was Info Edge or Naukri. Now, over here, the company actually gave a quarterly update. Now, experts indicate that positive hiring trends are now starting to emerge and green shoots are being seen over there. Along with that, what was another booster for the stock was a double upgrade coming in from brokerage house Citi. Stock ended higher by close to 10%. The next stock, of course, was Voltas, a 72% jump as far as AC sales was concerned in Q4, aided almost a 6% rally in the stock over there. The next stock was Aster DM Healthcare. This particular stock has been moving up quite significantly ever since the block deal that did take place. Now, next week, you're anticipating a very large dividend from the company in the range of 110 to 120 rupees a share, after the consummation of the sale of the GCC business. So, some pre-buying happening in this particular name. On the other hand, when you're talking about a name like Nykaa, again, some GMV values coming in from the company up almost 6%. The gross merchandise value jumping in by over 30% in Q4. On the other hand, on the flip side, which are the stocks that saw quite a bit of selling pressure? First one was Nestle. Some sentiment soaring news coming in terms of increased royalty payment to the parent from the Indian arm. Stock ended over by over 1.5%. Bandhan Bank, surprise exit from the CEO and the founder. That was something that the markets didn't take too kindly to. And lastly, Union Bank. While banks across the spectrum have been giving very good quarterly updates, Union Bank disappointed in terms of underperforming the industry growth, and that stock ended lower by over 3%.
Thanks a lot for that, Vivek. Well, joining us on the show today, a market expert, we have Anand Tandon, who will help us out with the fundamental analysis, and Shilpa Rout or Prabhudas Lilladher. Thank you, lady and gentlemen, for joining in on the show. Shilpa, you go first. It was a good session, right? But the Nifty Bank, the knockout punch was missing. It made those fresh intraday highs, but you're likely to go the distance. Do you think it has enough of steam to go maybe past that 49,000 odd mark and hit the 50,000 mark?
Definitely, it does have that steam, and the move today was as expected. Bank Nifty has never given a very high surge immediately after hitting a new high. So this expansion of a new trajectory for Bank Nifty towards 50,000 is very well intact. And in fact, this is a good sign that, it actually didn't make that rally today towards 49,000 to 49,200. So this move will definitely come in a couple of sessions, and that will expand to almost around 1,500 odd points, which will be around 50,000 mark. So Bank Nifty is very well poised, and it is more bullish than Nifty. But in this case, since Bank Nifty will likely rally towards 50,000, Nifty will also test 23,000 to 23,200.
Okay, 50,000 on the Nifty Bank is now about 2.9% away from where we currently are. So not much ground left to cover there. But let's get to the first stock on our radar, and that's Bandhan Bank. It tumbled 6%. Founder Chandra Shekhar Ghosh has said he will step down as the managing director and the CEO once he completes his tenure on the 9th of July. A statement from the bank on Friday evening said Mr. Ghosh will assume a larger strategic role at the group level. However, there are no further details of the nature in a role. In a conversation that we had with CNBC TV 18, Mr. Ghosh said that the decision was completely voluntary and personal. Speaking about business, he added that FY 23-24 was a year of fantastic business momentum along with the control on slippages. Here's a snippet of that conversation.
I only taken couple of people who are senior level, who are in the captain level of that. So it is there, the ground will be very strong. These people are working with me the long time. And the mid-level, there is in people, we are developed them in the last more than 1 year, 1 to 3 years. And the top level, we have been taken now. I have also get the time in the next 3 months. I will be like to make it and then to develop further if something need on that. Bandhan is my baby. I cannot give the risk to Bandhan. I will be like to decide how my baby will be like to save. And accordingly, I will be like to exit. If you see that this is my totally voluntarily personal decision. 2015, I opened the bank, and up to 2018, if you see that the 3 years, and these are the 3 years, I have been developed the bank and keep that people's trust on the bank to deposit, attract to the depositor. 22-23, I recovered more or less in the 70% up, 80%, but not in my satisfaction has come on that achievement. 23-24, I have been seeing that a very fantastic way has been come as a business momentum. Slippage has controlled.
Anand, I recall a conversation earlier when you said that if someone holds Bandhan Bank, there is no reason to exit now, though in the near term, it does create some uncertainty. Which one would be your preferred pick in the banking space? This is an open-ended question now.
Well, I think the banking space, the better ones are the bigger ones. And I think both from the valuation as well as the growth perspective, the companies like Axis, ICICI have been reporting fairly good numbers. HDFC has not been able to grow as much because of the constraints they have in terms of the amount of deposit compared to the growth that they can do on the credit side. But I think that will get corrected over a period of time. The valuations for most of these companies are relative to their own past, not very expensive. So I would think that, the frontline banks still look reasonably priced compared to the rest of the market and sometimes even compared to their own historical valuations, whether it is SBI, ICICI, Axis, or even HDFC. So my preference would be stay with the big guys. If you are looking at financial services outside banks, insurance is something that I would be looking at. I think, again, life insurance and to some extent, general too, though general is a lot more competitive. I think life insurance is something that has a fairly long runway and the numbers are still coming through fairly robustly.
All right. Got that take, Anand. Shilpa, I wanted to come across to you. What's your take on Bandhan Bank? It's been a relative underperformer. It seemed to have bottomed out and then this piece of news came in. But if you went to short the stock at the start of today, you would actually make no money. But if you bought the dip, you would actually make money for today. Your view, technically, how's it looking?
Okay, Bandhan Bank, if you look at 200 is now as a resistance. So any sort of upside move towards 220 to 30 can happen only once it surpasses 200. Until and unless, this stock will be on the weaker zone wherein, any sort of upside pull will also be getting sold into because the downside targets toward 160 to 150 is very much, likely open now. So I wouldn't be giving or suggesting any sort of buying or selling as of now. Maybe wait it out for a day and maybe tomorrow we can look at the stock again.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Moving on to one of the stocks of the day, Voltas. It's a fresh all-time high. The stock ended with a gain of about 6%. The company's reported its highest ever AC sales with a 72% volume growth in Q4. For the full year, the company has sold 2 million air conditioners, which is the highest ever for any brand in India. Voltas believes the performance was aided by consistent demand for cooling products, strong omni-channel distribution and new launches.
Okay, all right. The other stock on our radar is Exide. It hit a fresh 52-week high today as Hyundai Motor as well as Kia Corporation announced a partnership with its wholly owned subsidiary, that's Exide Energy Solutions. This partnership will focus on manufacturing EV batteries in India, and this makes Hyundai and Kia the first car makers to use domestically produced batteries in their EV models. Well, a bunch of real estate stocks were also buzzing, and they're in the spotlight today. Prestige Estates posted their Q4 business update and achieved its highest ever annual sales in FY24, while Godrej Properties sold homes worth around 3,000 crore in Gurugram. India Builds Real Estate as well raised close to around 3,900 crore rupees by the preferential allotment route. Sonal joins us to fill us in with more details. Sonal?
Thank you so much for that. Well, there's no stopping the activity that we're seeing in the real estate space, right? Let me start with Godrej Properties. The company has been able to sell 1,050 apartments, which is amounting to around 3,000 crore rupees in its new project in Gurugram. The company says it is their best ever performance in terms of value and volume from a single project alone, which has been sold out in 3 days. They said the growth that they've seen in the Gurugram market is around 473% in FY24. Additionally, for a new project in Kandivali in Mumbai, they have seen sales of around 2,690 crore rupees. This is in Q4. For Signature Global, the company exceeded their FY24 sales guidance and the quarter update was good. Their pre-sales were up 240%, their volumes were up 111% and their collections were up 71% as well. The other one is Keystone Realtors. Decent update, the sequential recovery. However, collections or the volumes declined on a YY basis. Their pre-sales were up 37%, collections up 48%, volumes up 3%. India Bulls Real Estate, we've been talking about that big fundraise that has come by, and the company has announced fundraise of 3,900 crore rupees via preferential allotment. Embassy Group has funded 1160 crore rupees, Bailey Gifford around 209 crore rupees, Blackstone Real Estate Fund, that's a big one, which has given 1235 crore rupees, and the other investors, the likes of Quant Active Fund, Poonawalla Finance, Microlabs, Maybank, Utpal Sheth and Capri Global. These are some of the other marquee names. The company has also announced acquisition of 4 projects amounting to 1853 crore rupees in terms of cash. Lastly, Prestige Estates. It was the highest ever yearly sales, exceeded guidance of 20,000 crore rupees in terms of annual sales. Their quarter 4 sales were up 21%, volumes were up 3%, and their collections were up 26% as well. On the last plate, we'll just see performance of all the real estate companies so far. We have not gotten all of them, but Prestige is the highest there, followed by Signature Global. There's Sobha at 6,600 crore rupees. Then we have Keystone. Macrotech 2 is a big one there at 14,520 crore rupees. They have met their annual guidance.
Thank you very much for that. Now let's get to some stocks which were moved by brokerage notes. Nimesh has compiled that interesting list for us. Nimesh.
Well, a lot of stocks are buzzing on the back of some brokerage notes. I'll start with InfoEdge first. That stock ended 10% higher on the back of a double upgrade from Citigroup, and they've raised the target price on the stock to 66.50 now. Now, the upgrades essentially on 2 things. One, they believe that the recruitment business has likely bottomed out, and they've raised the core margins or for that matter multiples for the stock to 42 times versus 36 times earlier. So that was an InfoEdge. The second stock was GAIL. That stock also ended 5% higher on the back of a Morgan Stanley note. They've sharply raised the target price on GAIL to 254. Morgan Stanley believes that GAIL's market cap can double by 2026. In fact, they say that GAIL is in a sweet spot with India's demand going up by 2.5 times by 2030, and plus monetization of assets and upcycle in the chemicals would mean that the EBITDA can double for GAIL by 2027. That was the reason GAIL was buzzing in trade. The third stock is IRB Infra. Even that stock ended higher on the back of a CLSA note. They've raised the target price on IRB Infra to 81. They say that quarter 4 saw a lot of multiple triggers playing out for the company. The first one being they won a large arbitration award of 1,700 crore. Second, one of the big tollway where there was a litigation going on, that court order is now reserved, so that is expected in quarter one of FY25. And third, they've won 2 assets worth $735 million. So that is the reason why IRB was buzzing. And the last is Shriram Pistons. Even that stock ended 5% higher. There was an MK note. They had done a roadshow with the management, and the management is quite confident about the businesses. So they expect the core business, IC business, to do well going forward. They see a large tailwind in the exports market from the global OEMs. And third, they're diversifying to the EV business as well. So a lot of individual names were buzzing, but the top of the list was InfoEdge, 10% higher on a double upgrade from Citi.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We also thank Shilpa and Anand for joining us today. With that, it's time for a short break. We'll get to our popular segment, D Street Chatter, on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Markets Forward. Now, let's take a quick note of all the top corporate voices of the day. First up, ESAF Small Finance Bank in focus. The bank's asset quality deteriorated in Q4. However, the CFO, Girish CP, believes the worst of the asset quality is behind, and he expects a substantial reduction in their gross NPAs in FY25. He's also guiding for a 25% growth in the assets under management and net interest margins of around 10%.
Well, GICRE was also the stock on our radar. The company expects growth in FY24 premium to largely remain flat, as against earlier guidance of around 5 to around 6%. This on account of high catastrophic claims in the third quarter. The company's chairman and the managing director, Mr. Ramaswamy, says that he expects 10 to 12% growth in FY25 net earned premiums. He also told CNBC TV 18 that he expects the company's combined ratio to improve by around 5% odd by December 2024 and is aiming to come close to around 100% combined ratio with 1% improvement every year. Well, it's time now for D-Street Chatter. Nimesh joins us to fill us in with an insight into dealing room chatter. Nimesh, what's on your radar?
Hi, Nigel. Another record close for the markets. Again, it's largely led by large caps, but the mid caps relatively had a consolidation day in today's market. But in terms of individual stocks, the first stock on my list is Adani Port. That stock was marginally under pressure today after a large block. But I understand the non-promoter entity was a seller in today's block, so disclosures would be quite interesting there. So that's the first name. The second stock is India Cements. That's been buzzing in trade today and good volumes as well. But I understand the street is anticipating some sort of a monetization of real estate very soon. So that's something to track in India Cements going forward. The third stock is Bandhan Bank. We spoke to the management as well. The stock was under pressure, but recovered from the lows, largely on the back of HNI buying. So some bit of HNI interest is back at lower levels in today's market in Bandhan Bank. And the last is Electronics Mart. That stock was buzzing for the last couple of days, but I'm expecting a large block in India, Electronics Mart very soon. Most likely, a domestic institutional investor is likely to sell a large block in that company very soon.
Thank you very much for that. And as we wrap the show, we bring you the key market events to watch out for. Ekta is here. Ekta.
Thanks for that. Well, it's generally a quiet day when it comes to domestic cues in terms of data coming out, but it is quite active on the global front, so I'm going to concentrate on that. New Zealand rate decision is tomorrow. We have the US NFIB Business Optimism Index, the US Red Book Index as well, along with a 3-year note auction. Now for Japan, we have the consumer confidence data which will be out, the ECB bank lending survey, as well as the German 5-year note auction. So these are a couple of cues to watch out for from the global space.
Thanks a lot for that, Ekta. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Markets Forward. We'll be back with more news and updates on the other side. You stay with us.